welcome to the Spooky Chris podcast. This is the aforementioned Spooky Chris, coming to you from the Ringler bunker, day 84 of the coronavirus lockdown. These are very strange times. The new norm is I work remotely now from home and go into work once a week and do office stuff there, and then work the other days from home. And the wife is temporarily laid off, and it's all just a very weird situation. The world is very strange, and it's just, yeah. Hopefully, listener, whomever you are, you're well and your family's well and everything's okay. I kind of laugh at the absurdity of just how crazy the world is, but it's not funny, obviously. It's just interesting. It's very, very interesting. A lot of books are going to be made about this era in our history. A lot of movies, mostly made for television movies. You'll see. I mean, there will be classes taught in 20 years about this era and this time. The politics of there's so many things to talk about, in the future. So it'll be fascinating. It's one of those things where you kind of always hope that you live long enough to see how history looks back at things. So it'll be interesting. That wasn't actually what I want to talk about, but though I should again, I am Chris Ringler. This is the Spooky Chris podcast. Episode, I think I'm still in the 30s, 39 maybe. Hopefully you found this via my blog / website at spookychris.com. If you found it somewhere else, then thanks and welcome. I appreciate it. These are short form podcasts, kind of rambling a little bit, focusing on my writing and the arts and weird stuff and such and such. I am a writer in Oddball from mid-Michigan. You can find out all manner of information about me on my website, spookychris.com, and info on my books. And that was actually what I wanted to talk about today. I say tonight, I mean, this podcast will say, was my books. So, when I started writing as a teenager, and that was a very long time ago, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know. I loved Garfield, and the idea of destroying pictures. That's what I wanted. The problem was I only drew little cartoony faces, and they weren't really good. I just liked to draw them. Them and spaceships were a big one for me as a little kid. Lots of spaceships and little space wars. Probably the Star Wars influence. And as I got older, I wanted to do, I decided I wanted to be a special effects makeup person. Again, not having done it. What's funny is I've done more of that stuff since I started kind of fooling around movies and stuff, or fooling around with photography. It's one of the things where it sounds great because I love movies, I love horror movies, and it looked kind of fun from afar, and I, kind of understood techniques and stuff in varying degrees, because I read like Fangoria magazine and Gore Zone and all these magazines and stuff. But the reality and wanting it and reality are vastly different. I want to be the next Eddie Van Halen, but never having played a guitar. So again, it was something I wanted to do, but never really did. And as a teenager, I started writing. I remember the first story that really felt like, I wrote weird stories and stuff, and I kind of vaguely remember them. That was the era when I wrote the first draft of my book, Roadkill. Was back in that era, but I remember the first story I wrote as a teenager, 10th grade maybe, that seemed kind of like I finally found what I was loving doing. And it was a story, it's in my first book, I think, called The Castle in the Sky or something like that. I remember it so well, I can't remember the name. But I remember, I still remember writing the story, and I remember that era, and I remember that was kind of when I fell in love with writing, and I just, I got into zines with a friend, and zines, I think I talked in a recent episode about zine is short for fanzine, which are kind of fan-made magazines about kind of pop culture or movies or music or whatever. So we got in that, and I started writing, movie reviews and kind of opinion pieces, and more and more fiction. As I got a little older, I started writing more and more fiction, which led me like having a whole heap of stories and getting a book out in '99 and blah 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 to where we are now. So I started writing. I wrote because I liked the storytelling aspect. I like telling stories. I found I kind of had some kind of skill at writing to some degree. I mean, how effective, I can't really say. But I love the storytelling aspect of it, and that's, when I started writing and when I really got into it, and that remains. I love the storytelling aspect. I mean, I think it's an absolute truism that, like, when you stop loving the storytelling, when you stop loving kind of the creation of it, it definitely becomes jeepers, sorry. It definitely becomes a job. And there's nothing wrong with jobs, but then it becomes about the money. And that can be a problem. Because I learned this a long time ago at World Horror Convention in New York, 2005, that there are an awful lot of authors out there, and some of them that are very, that are successful. I don't know, very successful, but they have publishers, they have agents, they regularly can publish. They're well regarded in the industry, but they have full-time jobs. And that's because there's very few authors that can be successful enough to just be an author. It's not a normal thing. It's not an easy thing. So if you are writing for money, you definitely are. It's got to be your day job. Like, you're in marketing, you're in advertising, you're in content creation. You're generally not going to be in the fiction, nonfiction business, because it's very hard to get that that foot in there and then to get regular sales. I remember way back in the day when we started our horror convention, we had an angel investor who was from our area, and she donated a bunch of money, and they were a best-selling author. And I mean, not to say that they are not still, but they were a best-selling author from our area, and they still struggled from time to time, and like they still had money troubles and same troubles everybody has, but they had been a New York Times bestseller. So it's selling books and getting noticed and stuff still doesn't make you wealthy. It's very rare. And you come to terms with that. Like, if I was writing stories strictly for money, I would have stopped a long time ago. I tell stories, write stories because I like the craft, to call it something pretentious. I like writing. I love the writing. That's why I write my blogs. I write reviews. I write the stories. I write as much as I do because I love the act of it. It is an act kind of almost exorcism, in a way, of self-exorcism, because you're kind of getting all of this out of you. You're kind of draining poison from you. And it's my way to kind of get things into the world. I still take photos. I still wanted to make more movies. I want to do other things because I have lots of crazy ideas in my head. It's just a matter of kind of what the venue is. But I never wrote, and I still don't write for money. Like, the thing though is that selling the books helps to keep me able to write and sell the books, because it's one of those things where it kind of helps carve out more time to do it and put more content out. But more than anything, I want readers. I just want folks to kind of discover my stuff. And it's not even it's not a fan thing. It's not an ego thing per se. I just want I want folks who would dig my stuff to find my stuff. And if I make money on the way, awesome. But more than anything, I just want folks to get into it. That's what I love about it. It's one of those readers wanted. With everything going on, there's not much I can offer the world, but I tried to make all but like 1 or 2 books of mine free on Kindle for a couple of weeks. I staggered them out. Just for folks that are going through some terrible times, to give them, if they wanted, if they came across it and they found it, they could have a free book, and hopefully they dug it. And it's one of those things like, if I'm lucky, if I did my job, maybe they are into other stuff I write. If not, somebody got a free book and they don't feel like they're out anything. But I've always struggled with the notion of feeling like I'm putting these books out for myself, which, we all write for ourselves. We do this kind of for ourselves, but I don't do this for ego. It doesn't really, me self-publishing books doesn't make me feel big and bad and like this grand person. I just kind of grew up in my teens and 20s in this kind of DIY mindset, and I just wasn't going to let people tell me I'm not allowed to do things like that when I think that's kind of nonsense. But in saying that, I still would like folks to discover it. I'm writing the stories. I'm telling the stories I want to tell, but I'm putting them out to the world because I want folks that might dig them to find them. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. I mean, that's my hope, though, is that folks that will dig it will find it. It was kind of cool that a couple of people actually bought books during my stuff for free thing. I think it was just friends of mine that were buying my newest book. But that's still cool. It's a nice kind of like, and that's that kind of a thing is a validation too. It's like okay, cool. So somebody took their money, their hard-earned money, and invested that into what you're doing, and that's pretty neat. Like, I always figure, I always marvel at people that on social networks and stuff who keep selling their books and hard selling it. And I'll put it out there like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you're into it, cool. If not, whatever. But I don't want to sell books to my friends and family because I don't want them to feel guilted into it. I want strangers to buy the stuff personally because they have no investment in me. They don't feel beholden to me. They're not doing me a favor. They want a good story. They want a good book. And that's what you kind of want is you want somebody who's gonna pop up and just like take a chance on you. And that's what I want. And that's what I hope for. Again, it's cool if my friends and everybody like it, but I don't surround myself with people that are going to be jerks. They're going to be like, oh, this is trash. You're a trash bag. So I wouldn't expect that. But just like I wouldn't expect people, my friends and family, to buy it. Like, they don't owe me anything. And if they're not into it, they shouldn't buy it. And I always feel guilty and weird selling to them. Like, they're there in my life. I feel weird wanting money from them. So I'm always struggling with that, though. I always have the readers wanted sign up. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to be a salesperson and a creative because it feels dirty almost. Because I for sure could use the dough. And I love the affirmation of someone investing in your craft and your art. But I also feel weird selling, because I feel like they should sell themselves. Like, it's like, this is what it is. If you're into, like, my new book, if you're into stories about carnivals and weird stuff and, that kind of a life, carny life, maybe you'll dig my book. If not, it ain't for you. Just like there's vampire books out there and they ain't for me. Like, there's something for everyone. Happily, that's the good thing about the self-publishing boom, is there really is something for everyone. If there's a market that's boomed, I would think it would be the bizarro fiction, erotica, and kind of the bizarro erotica mix that have come out of everything. Like, that seems to be, and people can put that stuff out, relatively inexpensively, relatively quickly, and you can get yourself like a thin kind of novella for $1. And if you hate it, you spent $1, no big deal. But with more of us out there publishing and putting books out, it's definitely harder to get eyes on us. So the hope is that I have the hope that I'm telling stories people want to read. They're definitely strange. I don't know if 2 books about revenge and ghosts from the past and racism and history and stuff and small town bigotry and things from beyond are calling out to anybody to read. But I mean, that's what I'm writing about. I wrote about zombies and starring a 12-year-old kid, and I write stuff that feels true to me and feels engaging to me. And I'm hoping you, dear listener, dig it. I hope you'll stop by my haunted bookstore on SpookyChris.com and look at my stuff and go, oh, that sounds pretty cool. That's my hope. We'll see. It'd be neat. A guy I met at at StokerCon, I'd given him a copy of my Meep Sheet book, and it was neat because he was reading it to one of his kids. How that went, I can't tell you, but that's neat, though. That's neat to think that someone read my books to their kids, and that's cool. I wrote something for a friend of my wife's, whose daughter had been going through a hard time and was being picked on, and I wrote one of my kids' books for her. And when the little girl got it, she was super duper stoked, and that she was in a book, and that was her, and that was pretty neat. So, that's the other stuff that kind of gets you going, is when you can kind of touch folks like that. But me, I am always looking for readers. I am always looking for that, so I'm hoping you're out there somewhere, dear reader, waiting for the weird stuff I'm putting out there, because heaven knows I got lots of weird to go. I hope you're well, dear listener, and you're taking care of yourself, and you're doing everything you can to be safe and finding fun things to do and keep your mind occupied. If you ever need a little weirdness, you know where to find me. SpookyChris.com. Take care.